You are listening to the Apocalyptic Education Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffani Marie, and a little later, the good Dr. Kenjus Watson will join me for our interview segment. Join us in a final farewell to schools in hopes that we might embrace its afterlife and implications for Black and other Indigenous frameworks of wellness. All right, y'all, we are here. I don't even know how we got this, given that this man is usually out the country, in the country, performing here, doing this there. But today we had the one and only Kiazi Malonga, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here this morning and looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah. Man. Thank you for being here. And tell us about your morning. What you do this morning?
This morning, let's see, it's been hot these past few days. So sleep has been a challenge just because my house is pretty warm. So cold shower. I actually have a packed day, kind of like you just alluded to. Attending one show, doing another show later. So I had to get all my wardrobe together before I came down.
Okay.
Stopped at Starbucks. Of course, there were like 3 employees and 40 people in line.
Okay.
Right, but I got my Pike Place. Now I'm ready to go on the couch.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You came stylish already. Tell us a little bit about this hoodie you got on.
This hoodie is pretty special to me. It is African print, and it is the carve out, the map of Congo Brazzaville. So it's like a kind of positive, and I won't say positive and negative, but it represents a piece of what is the overall Congo kingdom. And so it's one that I like to wear when I'm kind of sitting in my inner Congo, you know what I mean? So I just thought I'd bring that out for today.
Appreciate that.
I like we're doing the green thing.
We're doing something.
We're doing the green. So
That's for sure.
with the green-ish couch.
Yeah,
right here. So
green couch interviews.
It's required to sit over there.
Yeah, I
didn't
mean,
get the
you
memo.
have to sit in that. You chose to put this blue shirt on, so.
Is what the spirit spoke to me.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
To balance it.
Okay. Well, there's this center. I grew up in San Francisco, of course, but I would go, Kenjus, to Oakland, and part of my life there was like the Malonga Center, and I grew up understanding it was like arts and things there. Then I met this guy right here, and I heard his last name. I said, "Wait a minute," and I actually knew your sister first through Dee, these EPA people, but that's your dad.
Yeah, that was my father.
Center's named after your dad.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit.
Well, first, it's always an honor to walk. It's a place. Well, where do I start? So it's formerly Alice Arts Center, which has been a hub for the arts here on the West Coast, and particularly the African diasporic arts. Oakland, Bay Area, and particularly Oakland, is often labeled as like the Mecca or the capital of African diasporic arts, in the United States. So anybody who's interested in learning classes, kind of getting connected in community, outside of classes, digging more deep in like ritual and kind of traditional learnings, like that is like the place. Oakland's the place, and the kind of center that has always been at the forefront is the Malonga Casquelourd Art Center. And my father was super instrumental in creating this space where the African diasporic arts, my family particularly from Congo, but he was a Pan-Africanist, so anybody who came from, be it in the continent or the Caribbean, he really made it his business to welcome them and encourage them to share their art form and build community. And so that kind of helped put Bay Area and the center on the map. And unfortunately, his passing occurred, but the community really spoke loud and strong around naming the center in his honor. And so sometimes I get like Malonga, are you related to, there's a center there, and that's always pretty cool. But more than not, it's a place that has raised many children.
Yes.
It's a place that has been a kind of point of refuge for folks in all walks of their life. The first 3 floors are dedicated to arts, rehearsals, performances, and then the top 4 floors are residential living spaces for artists that are subsidized rate. So now, as you can probably imagine, with the city of Oakland, there have been ebbs and flows, kind of tug of wars around keeping that building dedicated to the artists and keeping us supported. But over my entire lifetime, being one of the children who grew up in the center, it has always been there in a place that we have flourished.
Nice. Now you told us about the center. Tell us about your dad.
My father was, first and foremost, he was an amazing person. He was a people person. But prior to his artistic, career starting in Congo, he was heavily involved in the politics around independence. And so he was born 1947. Independence is 1960. So he's 13. But in that part of the world, you have participation even in political movements by all age groups. Right. And so he was instrumental amongst his generation in kind of supporting those efforts. And then directly after independence, as he walked into his early teens, and the country kind of was in turmoil. Because if you look at the Congo's history, the Republic of the Congo, we've had, in contrary to the Kinshasa side, a number of political changes. And so he was instrumental in getting just the government established post independence, was actually part of a few military training, I guess you could call, initiatives where he was flown like to Russia and China to get military training. And he's probably like 17, 18, 19.
Wow.
And I have pictures with him with Mao Zedong.
Wow.
Of the Congolese delegation, like that went. So that was his life prior to coming to the United States. So he was always an individual. In any room that he was in, he would be the energy, the light, a leader. But he had a kind of a calm, jovial, funny. He was also funny too. Spirit to him, but he also had an element of like you don't want to mess with him. You know what I mean? And, fast forward, things kind of got hot politically for that group. I think he left Congo at the age of 20, 21. I learned after he passed that he took a boat. So it was like a 3-month trip from Congo to Paris.
Wow.
So if you're looking at the geography of Africa, he's going around. That's not the Horn, but I don't know what the big part is referred to as on the Atlantic side.
Yeah.
But he did that, went to France, did schooling there, and then decided to come to the United States, where he, in 1972, landed in New York, which is right after the civil rights movement kind of was I won't say kind of calming down, but there was like right at the ebb of that, and then the kind of increase of like Black Panther,
you know what I mean? In New York, especially in New York with the Panthers.
Encountering a very, very hungry and interested African American community here in the States to reconnect. It was like a natural transition for him to then be a culture bearer and to help bridge that connection, continue to build community, and lean into that. So that's and then fast forward, he left. He stayed in New York for 4 years, from like 72 to 76. Came to East Palo Alto, specifically East Palo Alto, which is also at that time referred to as Little Nairobi, right? The sister city with Nairobi, Kenya. And there was already African Americans here who were very interested in staying connected, celebrating Kwanzaa, being in connection with all of the political movements and struggles and initiatives on the African continent and the African diaspora. And he founded Fwadja Congo, which is a performing arts Congolese dance group dedicated to maintaining Congolese heritage. Fwadja Congo actually means the heritage of the Congo. And it's interesting, just because in the transatlantic slave trade, like 40, numbers can vary, but it's anywhere between 40 and like 44% of all of the slaves that left Africa were from the Congo region.
Yeah.
And you can even go to parts, and you can probably Google and do research, but there's still parts of those areas that are like underpopulated as a result of the mass removal of people. So Congo's been something very, very present in not only the Africans in America, but the Africans in the diaspora. And so kind of reconnecting to long lost relatives, traditions, ways of being, thinking, eating, celebrating, through my father bringing Congolese culture to folks outside of the Congo was a natural reunion, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then at some point, music becomes a part of this journey that I'm guessing heavily influenced you.
Yeah, for sure. So my father, as I mentioned, the ability to, kind of recreating his identity, and I learned this kind of afterwards. He had to leave behind like the political struggles or the political revolutionary push that he was doing, and have to, recreate his kind of perspective on life and how to still add value to community. Because in the Congo, it was around political movements and looking from a governmental perspective, and here it was more kind of grassroots and using the arts as a form of expression. He was a drummer, dancer, percussionist, and there are 4 of us, 4 children that he had, and we were all raised in that community. No babysitters, no child care. So when there's a class, when there's a show, when there's a rehearsal, I have vivid memories at 2, 3, and 4, like falling asleep behind a drum. I have video of myself at, Kashmir's age, Siama's age, playing on the drum.
Yes.
So it was just, it was important for him not only to create a connection for communities here in the United States, but to show his children that even though we are here in California, that this is our culture. So he was creating a connection to that, so that, as I've grown up and I started to travel back and forth to Congo more frequently, it's not foreign to me. I have a sense of self. I have a sense of identity. I have also the ability to make similar connections to communities here through culture, be it from the African diaspora or individuals who come from other ethnic and geographical backgrounds. So music has been has played a huge role in that, and has definitely been a bridge to to bridging those communities into just kind of opening up spaces that would not have otherwise been open to me.
I've been hogging the mic. I'm so excited you're here, but I want to give space for Kenjus.
I mean, I'm thinking about what we have next to us, and that was the way that I met you, was really through the medicine and the language of the drum. And I'm interested in how some of that, you said like this sort of incubator, a sense of kind of refuge of that also bridged you to culture. I wonder if there's any way to talk about how that's embodied in the drum itself, or in the way that you speak with the drum.
Go and run that question by me again. It was dense, bro.
Yeah,
it was good though, but just go ahead.
I'm interested in the body of the drum.
Oh, got it. In the body of the drum,
and in your engagement around how you Congolese culture is your culture. It's not foreign, even over here.
Got you.
And whether or not there's ways that the drum embodies some of that for you.
100%. So I'll give us a brief kind of walkthrough of what we're looking at. So this particular drum is called the Ngoma. 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 This Ngoma is a shorter one because this Ngoma is played. It's from the. You okay? Somebody about to start snoring. This particular Ngoma is played by the Lari ethnic group, Lari, which is a sub-ethnic group of the Congo, by Congo people. It's shorter. These drums are usually played standing, so the bottom is not touching the ground. And let's see, what else can I say? Ngoma is also, it's a Bantu word, right? So when we talk about Bantu speaking Africa, it's basically Central African Republic and like east, west of that and down, right? Well, it's a huge mass of Bantu speaking people where culture, tradition, language, food are all related. There's some differences, and I say that to say that in many countries, whether you go South Africa or Uganda or Tanzania, Kenya, many of the ethnic groups refer to their drum as also Ngoma. So Ngoma is not just specific to the Congo. But when we go into like, when we're looking at like the breaking down of that particular word, and there schools of thought that kind of can speak to one way or another. Ngo in Congo means leopard, right? Ngo. So we're looking for that, and I'm not a linguist, but we just don't walk with me down. Walk with you real quick.
Yeah.
Ngo is leopard. Ma. Here, I'm handing you something. So Ngoma is me or the person who is playing, giving you the strength, the power of the leopard. So this is, and why that's important. And I say that's one, because you'll go to different places and they might say, well, we interpret Ngoma as meaning this. So that's just kind of one school of thought. The Ngo, the leopard, for us in the Congo, because we're a forested people, our king of the jungle is not the lion. Right. So it's the leopard. And anybody who knows about the natural world, they are one of the most like fiercest predators. Cats, they climb, they pull 3 times their weight. They're sometimes all black. They're other times you know what I mean. They're really, really like super duper majestic and really powerful animals. And so because of that, every ethnic group, most of them revere that as like, anytime if you're doing a ceremony, or if someone of stature passes away, or if you have a king, you will often have them adorned with the skin of the leopard that represents protection, that represents strength, represents stealth, right? All that the leopard embodies, that is so then you have that in this instrument with which we communicate, from the ancestral world, by my ancestors, through ceremony, and for whatever reason we're playing. So that's like a long-winded answer around the name of this drum. So what you're looking at is what was the trunk of a tree, and then a goat here. You okay, buddy? Yeah, you waking up from the knocking? Uh-huh.
He's like, cats.
Exactly.
Leopards.
So the tree is felled, of course, hollowed out.
Yeah.
And then it, is then adorned with a goat skin. Sometimes we use goat, sometimes we use cow, sometimes we use also antelope, and other forested animals that don't have names in English. But those are basically like the three different types of skins. And it's a very important instrument because it was once and is still alive.
Yes.
The tree is living, right? So you can actually walk up. I remember I was having this conversation with Tiff, and I'll bring that here. I actually had the opportunity. I played the hell out of a drum, but I'm not a drum fabricator. I can't fell the tree. I can't like hollow out the wood. And so I was with the drum maker, and he was like, Kiazi, your shoulders in America, you guys eat big, you play that drum hard. I'm gonna show you something today. Meet me at my like workshop house where he works out of like where he creates the drums. Like he gave me the address, hop in a taxi, and he said, bring water and your walking shoes and some food. I was like, all right, cool, no problem. So I get there early in the morning, and we walk like 6 miles, bro. And this is the sun in Africa is different than the sun.
Yeah.
It's here. It's different than the sun in Houston or Miami, wherever you at in the States. You think it's hot. You go to Congo during a certain season, it's a little bit hot. So anyway, we trekked there, and this was the first time I get the experience to see the Ngoma in its living form, meaning in the form of a tree.
Yes.
And he was just kind of walking me through how from his perspective, he chooses the tree, how he determines the health of the tree, how each tree before it even is felled has a voice to it. Yeah. So by that, you can go up to one tree, it'll do that, right? And then you go up to another drum, I don't have another drum. it'll resonate different. So each string, ding dong, already has this melody inside of it, and that's what speaks to the voice that it'll have. Right? Yes. So we fell a tree, and then he kind of gives me the tools to start, and I do horribly at it. You know what I mean? Because there's certain ways that you kind of have to open up the drum and hollow it out without cracking it. So I don't have those skill sets, and I much respect to those who do that. But this is definitely a very alive and ancient instrument. The designs that you're looking at here are traditional Bakongo designs. I actually took these designs from Nkwichi. Nkwichi is like a smaller version that's similar to the Kwika. It has a hole inside, like a stick inside, and you squeeze it. It does that. That particular drum where I got the designs it's probably 100 years old. So I took a picture of it, and I'm like, okay, you gonna make me this drum? I want those exact same designs. So that's already a bit of history here. It's black. In mentioning, you find Ngomas usually in two colors, black or, I wish I had the other one. Damn. Because if I tell you, you're not gonna see it, but I'll just tell you whatever for the sake. Black or leopard print. Black or leopard print, because leopards can be leopard print or like the Black Panther, right? And so that's why you'll see, and maybe you guys can take a shot of it and then shoot to it as I'm talking about it. Most Ngomas will have those two to be adorned again with the strength, the protection, the stealth, the power of the leopard, because this is a tool that we use to communicate. It's a voice, it's a language, and so because it's used intentionally to support ceremony or to communicate messages, it needs to be properly adorned and put together, right? Yes. And so that's why you'll have those designs and those colors that you typically are black and or leopard print. So you're looking at the Ngoma. Last thing I'll say, it's a long-winded answer. They're also in families. The Ngoma, I should say. Congo traditionally is a matriarchal culture. So a lot of disputes and just the way the pendulum falls is on the maternal side, right? So that also leads into how we categorize and look at our music. The lead drum is called the Nguringoma. Nguringoma, mother drum, right? Not father drum, mother drum. And then those that are playing the accompaniment, like the supporting parts, whatever the rhythm, bala, which are children. So you have the mother and the children, right? So that's kind of how we look at it.
Wow.
I wouldn't say long-witted. I would say blessing.
Yes.
Right on.
Blessing. So a lot of power in what you're holding and what you're sharing. What would you say is like, which you kind of talked about, but like the role of the drum in ceremony?
The role of the Ngoma in ceremony. I would say that it's a vessel. It's a way. In many different cultures, we seek to have communication and engagement with the spiritual realm, right? And so sometimes we do that through prayer. We do it through meditation. And for us, we have those modes too. But I would also say that the Ngoma is a I don't like the word portal, but it's a way to be able to communicate with and be in conversation with the spiritual realm and with our ancestors. And so it has a very, very important role in particularly the lead. But the lead is not more important than the supporting, because all parts are, whether they're bala, drums, or dunguri, make up for the entire conversation that's happening. But I would definitely say it's the lead drummer is typically the one who's really in direct conversation with ancestors, the spiritual realm, and that usually comes through in the phrasing that is being played. And so if you understand the language of the drum, you can communicate a bunch of stuff. You can communicate that, in this particular ceremony and circle, sometimes you're doing something, you have the same way in life, you have people who may try to disrupt something that's going on. Sometimes you'll have like a march, and then you have like people who are pitted to then start like to create chaos, to disrupt whatever the reason you were coming together is. And the usually the person who's playing solo needs to be able and sensitive in the way to, and tapped in to understand all of those things, and then can communicate how to protect the space, how to call in different people to dance, or to do movement, or to stop, or to change the song, or to go in another direction, speed up, slow down. So it's a huge, very, very important role in keeping us connected here in the physical realm with the spiritual realm, to keep us, moving forward and collective as a community. So,
Shay, so much of what's coming up for me right now it's around the language and the communication piece, the ceremony, even the meaning of Ngoma, what the intention is behind that. And I'm thinking about 1740 Negro acts in South Carolina that made playing the drums illegal. It also made any use of poisonous plants by Africans illegal or enslaved folks. So it's one and the same, right? But I'm wondering about, how that initial counter to the medicine of the drum, to the power of the drum that was used to organize folks around the Stoner Rebellion, how the counter to that continues, or maybe even how we counter that counter today. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
So how we're still pushing against that. I mean, I get it all the time. It's like, that's a lot of noise. This is music. This is a language. People use it to say beat the drum, and so there's still, I mean, hell, even in music, like the drum oftentimes has a back. It's in the back, right? So there's a suppression from that time period, because even Europeans that were bringing the Africans over, not understanding all of these, you can be in an observant space and really witness, okay, this shit is, can I say shit? Yeah, okay, all right, come on. This shit is powerful. I may not really understand what's going on, but I feel it. I see the impact and the energy then switched in the room, or just switched in this space. And so hence you have the outlawing of that. And it in certain spaces throughout the diaspora, and I say that intentionally because we're all connected. Africans here, Africans. I don't even know why I didn't know this, but like a few years ago, I found out that there's a whole Afro-Mexican population. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? On the Caribbean. And it makes sense because I was in Costa Rica and the Caribbean side. You think you could be in like Congo, Ghana, Jamaica, where you close your eyes and turn off your ears. You don't hear people speaking Spanish. You just look, and you could be anywhere in an African black country. In a lot of those spaces, like where there was a little bit more freedom, the drum flourished. But when it was suppressed, it didn't. And then you kind of see that reflected in just different forms of life. For me in the music, I kind of get it because I do a lot of crossover, trying to introduce the drum back in, and it's fighting up against that repression, that suppression that you were kind of referencing. So it's a struggle to this day. One of my biggest goals as a musician, as a culture bearer and a player of the Ngoma, is to reintroduce our people back to the power of and the voice of this drum, and of African drums in general but my being from Congo, specifically the Ngoma, because there's a certain essence, connection, and power in it that if we're disconnected from it, like it's just like in the music, if you don't have that, that's something to ground you, to tether you, then like it may be harder to kind of stay locked in. And I think that also serves true in life as we move in community, with the day-to-day trials and tribulations.
What's wild is Kiazi's a Stanford alum, but I remember you talking about like navigating that campus with your drum. Why you had to bring your drum there? You made it. You went to Stanford.
Yeah, I was dubbed as the drummer boy first quarter. You know what I mean? The first year. Yeah, because it was like, why did I bring my drum on? It's a part of who I am. It's a part of who I am. Even to get into Stanford, I don't know if they still do this, but as a part of the admissions process, you can of course, you got your essay, you do your SAT, you transcript, all of the regular stuff, right? But then there was an element where if you had any special talent or anything else that was a big part of your story that you felt like should be in consideration, right, you could do. And so Pops was like, Kiazi, we have to go, we're going to go perform over there. I was like, you think we should? Kiazi. So we went and we did a presentation that would also, I think they recorded it, and it was also part of my admission. So even before stepping on the campus, that the drum was there. My father also had taught at Stanford. Him being in the Bay Area, not the Bay Area, but East Palo Alto, many of the first members of Fuera Congo were Stanford students, right? So, my mother was Stanford alumni and also Fuera Congo alumni. So for me, any space that I was in, the drum was a part of it, right? And so I drummed at all of the different events. If there was a protest on campus and we needed to call the attention, I drummed. If there was Kwanzaa, I drummed. If there was whatever it was, I was just eager to share that part of my identity, but also to share the importance of being connected to culture, being connected to that way of communicating, that ancient voice and that link. And so I was heavy active in the Caribbean Students Association, African Students Association, and just in campus life in general. So I think that it was just a part of me, and it was a part of the value add that I was able to share on campus.
You being diplomatic right now, because that's not how you talked about it with me.
What did I say? Go right it back.
We was talking about you navigating these very sterile spaces, if that's the language.
I mean, when as a freshman, I was bigger, bulkier, and I had a lot of hair. And so one of my things was I was also interested in I just didn't want the regular experience. I was trying to be nice and say hi to people, a lot of people. Not that at that point we were the biggest class of I'm aging myself. 2004. I'm graduating class of 2004. So I came in 2000, and that was the largest African American year for admittance. For that year of admittance,
after y'all, it was
you know what I'm saying?
They come here bringing Ngoma.
Last largest.
So I don't know what it was after that, but I know up until that year, that had been, I guess, percentage wise, the largest. For that incoming class, we were the largest percent of African Americans admitted, and I would just say hi to white people as a way to just be on campus and walk into class, and I got ignored a lot. You know what I'm saying? You say, hey, how you doing? And it's looking away just kind of walking by and going to class. I'm like, shit, did you not hear me? Sometimes and I just kind of figured all right, everybody's here from a different walk of life. Whatever, man. Let me just be me and kind of really impose and add my voice, add my contribution to the campus, so that if you don't want to say hi or speak, as we walk into IHUM, which is intro to humanities, it is one of the courses that we all freshmen, I believe they still have to this day. You're gonna hear me on the drum though. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be in White Plaza, or I'm gonna be in the dorm or at an event. I also taught a class informally, a Friday night class, and then I actually, before I graduated, taught an official class that was on the syllabus too. So I felt like it was a space that needed very diverse, right? Not taking nothing away from Stanford's the fabric that makes up the community, but there was a little bit missing that I wanted to inject into the conversation, and I did that via the Ngoma.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, some of the work that grounds Tiff and I, when I first met Tiffany, I was hearing about she was teaching these young people as a way of healing towards healing telomeres, or healing them and then having telomeres express that healing. I used to have a line I would say anytime I talk. I'm like, and Dr. Tiffany Marie has taught these young people to speak in their indigenous language. So she's teaching Latinx students Nahua. Mm-hmm. She's teaching Black students. Some of them are learning Tree or Gon. Mm-hmm. And this is the line that always blow all the white people's mind whenever I say it. She's teaching them how to speak with djembe. Yeah. And they're like, and a few.
Kiazi hates the djembe.
No, not at all. Not at all. I
some of the folks
djembe.
were like, what's a djembe? What do you mean speak with drum? But to me, even like saying the word, whatever I'd said beforehand, I'd say that, and then there would just be like a hush, like, oh shit, drums can talk. And and I think some of it is like what you're doing on Stanford. I hear that as introducing, really like using the medicine of the drum to almost break up the other spell that folks are underneath, right? That's why it was outlawed, is because it has that power.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No hate to the Akampi folks.
Yeah. And this is clarified. And I want to get that out because I have a lot of brothers and sisters that are from the West Africa culture, and I love it. The challenge with and it's a great thing, but the djembe is like the number one. When you think about African drums, that's what you think about, and that's cool. But if I have a conversation, if I'm having conversation that's a tough one, it's with my fellow Congolese artists that reside in France or in Europe, and then also are coming behind in the Congo, to understand that like we got to lean into our tradition, right? And what we're finding is that in place of a lot of our traditional instruments and rhythms, there's a huge West African influence, which is great because they come from a very, like, there's so many different kingdoms and history and dynasties and really valuable concepts and culture and just community that exists all over Africa, right? But if you go to a buffet and everything got the same seasoning, you know what I'm saying? You think you about to get a pizza and they didn't season it with the same thing that they season like enchiladas. It's like you ain't, you know.
You're in the jollof rice.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's beauty in the diversity, right? And so what I'm telling my brothers and sisters in Congo and in France is that we gotta lean. What we have is beautiful, right? And if you feel like we've been playing Ngoma too much, well, shit, we got 53 ethnic groups. Go learn another, because all of the drums, this drum right here is specific to the Congo people, right? So there are three major ethnic groups. In the north, you have the Mboshi. All throughout Congo, you have Bateke. So you have Bateke people in the north, central, and the south. And then in the south, you have Bakongo. So under those three major umbrellas, you have many sub-ethnic groups that make up 53, right? And it's just like lean into that. Like, why the grass isn't always greener? You know, great for the djembe. Like it's a wonderful instrument, right? But us as Congolese, you look weird, bro. Like play your thing, dude. You know, lean into that.
Last night, I feel affirmed in this.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't
you feel affirmed.
And the thing is that I play djembe under in the setting where I'm like supporting another, like say one of the homies be like, we got a show and we doing like a West African piece. Cool, I'm gonna play djembe. Or if we like,
you put your hands on a djembe.
Oh, come on, Tip.
Let me see.
Come on, they right there.
It's written on there. I see it.
I love the drum, but the thing is that when I'm going to show up as Kiazi, if I'm doing any kind of event, I was just in LA last week, and it was a collaboration with this solid group, Farafina Khan. That's a group of brothers and sisters actually based out of DC that do Guinea music. So it's all djembe, balafon style music. But we did the collaboration. I'm with my Ngoma because I show different color. You know what I mean? And it's actually, we're looking to do more collaboration around that. But the takeaway there and the message is for everybody of Congolese descent and or of just anybody is like, you have beauty in your uniqueness, in your identity, and appreciate those of others, but like, you know, always lean into what your heritage is, because that's where your magic, that's where your power, that's where your ancestry and all of that force is going to come from. It's not going to come from something that's not of your bloodline. So that's kind of just the clarification there.
Man, that's intense and definitely intimately connected to this conversation.
Yes, it is.
You kind of, all of this comes together in a really profound way because your father dies. And Tunde's telling us, our friend Tunde, this story of you drumming at his service. And he tells it in a powerful way, but I'm interested in how you would tell it. What was that like for you?
It was surreal. I'm be real, I was angry at the time. I was angry at the situation that I was in. I had foresight to know that my life would never be the same. My mother had passed at 16. And so I was like, okay, shit, Pops, like, you know what I mean? You all I got. So like, and it's my mind. I'm thinking like, you know what I mean? And both, the loss of both my parents were immediate. Mother was heart attack. So we chilling like today, boom. And she 44, I'm 42. So it's like, damn, you know what I mean? And just probably not catch stress, you know, at home. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And just not, and being what most mothers are, selfless and caring for the children, right? And then neglecting self, massive heart attack and gone, right? So that's 16. So Pops stepped in like a freaking hero as I mean, he was always present, but when it hit the fan, like he stood up, and I just was something that I honored and always looked at. But I'm like, okay, like you the last Mohican brother, you better, you know what I mean? You can't dip nowhere. And I would think about that, like, man, like what would happen if, you know, if he left? And I always felt like I'm gonna be like a young person with no parents, and I didn't know how it happened. I felt it. Fast forward 21, it was after we played Stanford Black Grad, and that's something I've been doing since being on campus. Black graduate ceremony, we're drumming, and I was a junior, and it was the last night of the year. So you know, junior, it's parties. You know, so me and the homies trying to close whatever deals we couldn't close during the year. So I'm like, Dad, I'll see you tomorrow. We about to, or I'll see you later. I'm about to go to the party. You know what I mean? Try to, you know what I mean? Just do my thing as a normal African student. No, we're a normal African student. That's a joke from Coming to America. But as a college student, you know what I mean? Yes. So we parted ways, came back home. He head on hit by a drunk driver, passed away.
Goodness.
Yeah, man. So I was upset during that time at the funeral. It was a boatload of people. Jerry Brown, who was like the mayor of Oakland, who they were in the midst of like a push and pull, taking at the time the Alice Art Center away, repurposing it. That was in the midst of that happening. So Jerry Brown came, like dedicated the day, June 15th is like the holiday for Malonga Casquelourd Day, boom, boom. And like he said, I'm not touching, we're not, city government, we're not going to touch the center at this point. Like based on, because I think him and Jerry Brown had like some debates, you know what I'm saying, around boom. So they both knew who each other were. But it was surreal. I was angry. And I'm like, bruh, what you doing, man? Like looking, I don't know if people have had this moment when they've like lost a loved one and you're looking at what was them and now the essence of them is with the ancestors. But that was, you know, there was a lot of drumming, celebrating. But the thing that's coming out, like the main thing, like, because I remember Tunde being there and just looking out, checking in. But I remember thinking, fuck, man, like this, my life has changed forever at this point. And the community like is impacted because he was so much to so many people. One of the people where like I still hear stories about him that I did not know that he was, things that he was doing or places that he was or involved in that I had no idea when I was, you know, when he was alive and I was whatever, 18, 19, 20, 21. So it was an amazing like ceremony. It was we did him an honor, like justice, how he was supposed to be done. You know what I mean? So I was glad about that, but it was hard because I knew that like it was just, you know, I didn't have nobody else after that. So naturally, I continued to lean into music because the last thing him and I did was a performance. And I remember telling him like, okay, Dad, I'm gonna get the check and then I'm gonna run you, you know what I mean? I'm gonna just give you the check and you can like whatever. He's like, no, keep it. Because I was getting ready to go to Tanzania for over a summer, like not internship, but like summer program in between my junior and senior year. And he was like, no, it's okay, keep it. I was like, okay, well, I'll see you later on. I'm about to go turn up, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So let's see what else outside of being angry. It was great to see the support there from the folks. It was definitely out of body. I definitely was drumming very hard. The music was there. I definitely saw myself in the whole situation. Go ahead, you can jump in if you want.
Yeah, tell us about, because Tunde tells us a story about you drumming and leading, and in many ways, the torch. Talk about that.
And like the torch being passed to me?
Yeah, that day, that experience.
100%. I mean, it was like, you know, there were several processions. There was like one of the ones he was talking about where it was probably, we walked from the center to like where the accident happened, which is like right around the lake. And it was like, we had the whole like horse and carriage type situation, and like everybody was behind me, and I was like leading. Of course, the music and boom and everything is going, but I'm just like leading from the drumming from the Ngoma perspective, the entire procession, which is probably like several hundred people. So I knew that it was a time for me I was receiving something, and that it was, I had a choice whether to receive it, and do something with it, or like try to like hand it off. Because I could have just, you know what I mean? I had an opportunity. Even after that, I flirted with the idea of like walking on and trying to play football at Stanford. I was a basketball player in high school and pretty athletic, but my natural sport probably would have been football. And I decided against it, just given my commitment to the arts and having to be there for the family to continue things going on. It was probably pretty late also to try to start it. But I made the decision for myself, for all the work that my father had put in, for the community that he built, and for knowing that I understood the importance and value of continuing this work to definitely dedicate, if not my entire life, a good portion of my life to take that baton and run it to the next milestone, or the next, you know what I mean, place. So it was definitely something conscious that I recognized, and a decision that I made to want to continue the work that he was doing.
I shade to that.
What that experience or story of initiating into that space for you reminds me of is some Congo medicine or Kikongo framings of like the Dikenga or the cosmogram. And so idea of like projects, life, practices, even our own experiences going through a birth, a maturation, a kind of eldership and waning, and then into ancestral spaces. And I'm just wondering if, as we sort of come to a temporary end of our conversation with each other, where you find yourself at in this place, if you think of that Dikenga as a kind of organizing framework. Maturation, was that a moment where you were moving there? Where do you see your process?
Like right now, or at that time?
Right now.
Right now, I think that I am. So I think that I am definitely continuing to blossom into a space. I think that time I was a student, still like drummer boy at Stanford. And Pops would always tell me, always you go to school, get your schooling, but always know your culture as well. And so I think I made a decision to go hard in the paint as it relates to continuing to be well versed in a culture bearer and one that continues to build community in the best way that I can at that time. And then I think now I've even taken a step further to explore in the spaces that my pops hadn't gotten to yet. So I think I'm still in maturation. I'm not, knock on wood, I'm gonna be here longer, so we ain't about to transition to no ancestor action. I got a lot of work to do, so give me some more time, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not there yet. I'm definitely still. I think that when we're in the living, amongst the land of the living, there's seasons in life, right? Seasons, and I think I'm at a space where I'm leaning into that, and I'm trying to create. I'm adding on an additional layer to what Pops did, and it's a new territory, so I'm having to kind of figure out a lot, trial and error, but I'm just trying to continue to stay focused and do the work, and then stay tapped in also to Congo as well, so that I'm not too far removed from what I'm representing when I'm outside.
Ashe to the one and only Kiazi Malonga, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast was brought to you by the Apocalyptic Education Network and the Institute for Regenerative Futures. It was filmed and recorded at Red Tone Records. Continue the conversation with me and Kenjus at apocalypticeducation.org.
Mommy,
Yes, Buddha.
all done.
Yeah, we're all done.